Good evening everyone, myself RahulVerma. Today I represent my first presentation on state management in Flutter for real-time liquid galaxy control. This is a pre-requirement task of GSoC 2026 for liquid galaxy streaming. In this presentation, we will know what is the state in Flutter apps, how we can manage the state of our Flutter application, what are the options we have to manage state in Flutter applications, and why state management is critical for LG apps, and what is the architecture of different state management tool, and in last we will know what are the common mistakes and what are the takeaway from what are the takeaway from this presentation. So let's explore it slide by slide. And here is my first here is my first slide. In this slide, firstly we will know what is state in Flutter. So Flutter represents data that can be changed. It could be any information. It could be name on UI. It could be string or it could be text. And when you update the UI of the application, state of the widget has been changed. And as you see an image of setting page, in this page I have a text field, I have a connect button and a disconnect indicator. Now all these widgets have some state and it represents some kind of information on the page. The disconnect indicator shares the information that this application is currently disconnected from the liquid galaxy rigs. So when you fill up all the information regarding username, regarding IP port number, and when you press connect button, now this indicator will display connected, means now the state of this disconnect indicator has been changed, means the state of overall page has been changed. Now it display that our application is connected with the LG rigs. So this is a very simple example of state. And if you uh, there are two types of state. First one is the imperial state and the second one is the app state. You can manage imperial state with the help of state method, uh, which we learn in this presentation, and the second one is app state, which you can easily manage with the help of state. So now it's time to move to our next slide. Now, what is state management in Flutter? Before knowing what is state management in Flutter, we have to know what are the types of widgets in Flutter. Basically, there are two types of widgets in Flutter. First one is a stateless widget and second one is stateful widgets. Stateless widgets are those widgets who do not have any states, and whereas stateful widgets are those widgets who have a state, who display some kind of information on the UI. And so after this presentation, you will your doubt has been clear regarding state management in Flutter, and you always manage your state in stateful widgets. So now it's time to know what is state management in Flutter. State management is a way you manage the data your app uses to build its UI. Means the information that display on the UI. With the help of state management, you manage those information. And state management provide various benefits to our Flutter application. Means it ensures the UI stay in sync, means the all the widget you define in your UI works properly. It improves the scalability as well as the maintainability of the code. Now it's time to understand why statement is necessary for Flutter applications. The very first benefit of a state management is it ensures the consistency across the application. It deeply impact on the application performance. If you if you're working on large apps like e-commerce, and if you never manage your state of that application, without state management, the application performance is degraded, and it takes more time to load the result on the UI. So state management is mandatory for our Flutter application. With the help, if you properly manage your state, it simplifies the process of debugging and test application. Even it, with the help of state management, you can efficiently flow data from the front end and the back end, because state management separate the UI part as well as the business logic of the application. So now move to our next slide. Now, why state management is critical for real-time LG apps? As you know, our liquid galaxy rigs works on master and slave architecture, and in in this system, our Flutter application is a client who send command to the host system, which is our LG systems, and commands are not instant, means it takes time to execute on the host system, and liquid galaxy always work in the real time. And if commands execute one at a time, means there is a network delay exists in that. So to ensure that our liquid galaxy host works properly, so we have to manage the state management of our LG apps. If you never maintain your state of a liquid galaxy application, you see some UI consistency. You even don't know which command execute or which not, which will create the poor experience for the user. So if I take an example of a data visualization app, if you observe their code, you will see they use a provider in it. And why so? Because to ensure that their application works properly fine, so that's why they use a provider as a state management tool. Even they separate the business logic from the UI part. So if you have a time after this presentation, you will go and check the code of data visualization app, and you will clearly see that they use provider, and all the business logic like connected to the LG rigs, sending image to the LG rigs are separated in our statement. So now it's time to know what is the popular state management options in Flutter. First one is a set state, second one is a provider, third one is a river code, and fourth one is a getdocs, and last one is a block, as you see in the image. But when you start learning about Flutter, the first method you learn is set state. This is an inbuilt function which is provided by the Flutter mechanism, and it is simple and easy to use, but it is useful for the small wheel, and but it is not capable for larger. Like if you create an counter app in which you increase the number on the UI by tapping on a plus icon, it it increase that number on the UI. So in that kind of apps, that state is useful. The one drawback of that state is it rebuild the entire widget tree, which is very costly. Like suppose I have names written on the UI page, and if I want that only the first name of the user has been changed, if I use set state, it will change the state of all the all the name which is displayed on the UI, which create pressure on application app. and due to this, the app performance has been disgraded. So the set state is the last I can say the set state is a method which is provided by Flutter, and but it is not useful for the large apps. So now explore our options. So let's start with the provider. Provider is another state management tool which is provided by the Flutter, and it is available on the pubs.dev, and it is good for medium size application, but it requires some boilerplate code, and it is a context based state management tool. Means if you create any controller using provider, always you have to send context of that page. Again, if I give an example of a data visualization app, they use provider. Please check their code carefully. You will know every time they call the service, they always pass context in it. So provider is a context based state management tool, and it has sometimes like it include multi provider change notify provider, and it has a consumer. With the help of consumer, it updates the specific widget in the widget tree. And our next one is a repod. Next one is a river pod. This is a world alternative to the provider, but it requires deeper understanding to implement river pod in our Flutter application. Even it is useful for the large apps. Means for the large application you can easily use river pods. Now next is our GetX. GetX is a most common and widely used data management tool in Flutter. It is lightweight and simple and reactive by default. It has a minimum boilerplate code. With the help of GetX, you can clearly separate your UI part as well as your business logic in our Flutter application. Now we understand why GetX is suitable for LG app. If you want to implement GetX, then why it is suitable for LG app? To be honest, my in all of these state management, GetX is my favorite state management tool, and why I will explain in further slides. So now we know why GetX is suitable for LG apps. As you all know that LG is a centralized related states. Uh, with the help of GetX, uh, we can execute command cleanly, and it updates the UI when the command execute properly, and it handle async so well and cleanly. So now we understand the GetX in deep. So let's start with the introduction of the GetX. GetX is a Flutter framework that simplifies the state management, dependency injection, and navigation. With the help of GetX, you can manage the state as well as dependency injection as well as route management. And it is a lightweight framework, and GetX have some core concept on which due to which GetX works very well in Flutter apps. Like the core concept of GetX include controller, reactive variable, dependency injection, and UI binding. So now let's check out the core concept of GetX in deep. So let's start with the controller. So controller in GetX is where all logics lives. Means in your controller you rewrite all the business logic of your Flutter application. Like if you want to call an API, or if you want to declare some variable, you can declare in getX controller, and it extend with the getX controller. Always if you want to create a controller, you create with the help of extend getText controller. With this, Flutter will know controller counter is a controller which is built in getText. As I told you, in controller you can hold business as well as you can create any variables. Like in this image, a counter is a variable which you declare in a controller. Now if I talk about LG apps, then how it is useful for LG apps. With the help of controller you can set up connection state, command execution, and lower an error state. If I take an example of a data visualization in services page, uh, they all manage the connection state of the application as well as command execution in one single page. So in the case of getText, you can easily maintain all these connection state as well as command execution, even loading and error states. So next is a reactive variable. Reactive variable is also called Rx, and it is a heart of getText. In this picture, you will clearly observe Rx int is a reactive variable. In getText controller, we define data types using Rx like Rx int, Rx double, Rx string. In this way, we define a reactive variable. Reactive variables help to auto update the UI. If you call an API and if you save and data in that reactive variable, it automatically updates the UI of that application. So when an Rx variable changes, all listening UI updates automatically. No manual notification is needed. Means you don't need to write notify listener. It automatically updates the UI when Rx variable gets its value. Now let's understand what the dependency injection in getX. getX provide built-in dependency injections. Means as like in provider you don't need built context required all time. Means you don't need context. It is a context free state management tool. With the help of this dependency injection, you can create controller once and access them anywhere. Means if you define controller in login page, you can easily access them in dashboard page or any other page, and this keeps Flutter UI code clean and readable. So as you see in the image, I use get.put to inject controller in a test page. There are various ways through which you can inject dependency in the Flutter page using controller. First one is a get.put, another one is a get.find, and next one is and with the help of getX you can manage the routes of the application. When you write get.toNamed, and application automatically move to the next page without needing any kind of context. Now let's understand the benefit of dependency injection in terms of Liquid Galaxy application. So the same controller is shared everywhere. Means you don't need to create a different controller for different functionality of the application. You can simply create one controller and define your all logic in it, and state remain constant across screens. And one more thing I tell you that controller always always reload when you restart your page. Before building the widget tree, the controller has been initialized. So next is time to understand what is UI binding. So as I told you, when you create Rx variables, so to display their values on the widget tree, you need objects widget. Objects widget will listen their values of reactive variable, then display on the UI part. With the help of objects, it only rebuild that widget in the widget tree, means it does not build the entire widget tree. It only builds the that one widget in the widget tree. If I take an example how objects is useful in LG, it show loader visibility of status indicator. As I show in the first slide, a setting page in which disconnected is indicator. So their value has been changed due to objects. If our application is connected, then that indicator will display connected, otherwise it display the connected, and that indicator is controlled by objects. Now let's understand how everything works together. So controller update the state of the application, Rx variable notify some changes on the UI, then objects reveal that AI. Now let's understand why this fits Liquid Galaxy apps. These core concepts align perfectly with the needs of real-time Liquid Galaxy control application, and it is easy to maintain and the clear separations of concern. And now understand the architecture of GetX, how GetX execute, how it display data on the UI. So as I told you that you define controller in on your page using get.put. Let's take an example of that setting page. Like I put controller in setting page using get.put. When user tap on that connect button, then UI, then application goes to that controller, and then it go down to domain layer and look for that method which I added in connect button, and then it go deeper to the data layer, then it go deeper to the remote data layer and execute that command. And if that command return any kind of result or status, then it come toward upward to the data layer, then domain layer, then controller, and display that on the UI. So in this way, the GetX architecture is worked. First one is the controller, third one is the services, and third one is the UI binding. With the help of objects, it display result. Like in our case, if our application is connected, then the objects variable show connected indicator on the UI, which ensure that our application is connected with Liquid Galaxy rig. So in this way, data flow in the GetX architecture. So so now let's understand how command flow in our application. So here I again take an example of Liquid Galaxy controller app, in which firstly you have to send an logo to the Liquid Galaxy link. So how this command flow from our Flutter app then execute in the Liquid Galaxy rigs. So in a Liquid Galaxy controller app, the user doesn't just press a button and get the instant feedback. Means if the user press the button, like if I press a display 3D model button, it does not get instant response. It takes some time after executing that command, then application get the response from the rigs. So let's know the step-by-step process. The flow starts with the user interaction. As I told you, if I press fly to button, then UI start change immediately, and indicator will display on fly to change button. Then the controller call the LG services or that command. Then that command execute on the LG host system with the help of network. And if LG host system return any kind of error or any kind of success, then our application display that error message on the console. So in this way the command flow works in our Liquid Galaxy app using state management. Now we are on the last part of our presentation. Now we understand what are some common mistakes in the Flutter people do in Flutter state management. One of the common mistake done by people is that they putting business logic in the UI part. This is the biggest mistake, that people put all that logic in directly in the UI part. And another common mistake is to create multiple controller for the same state. Means like they can create multiple controller for the simple task, due to which application take time to load that controller. And second one is more overcomplicated architecture. They create the architecture so complex, due to which Flutter the performance of the application is degraded. So the last one is the key takeaway. What are the takeaways from this presentation? First is the state management ensure the reliable control. Means proper state management ensure that command behave consistently and reliably. If you properly manage the state management, it ensures that command execute properly and it will display the result whatever we want. And because the LG commands are synchronous and network app must know, are we connected or is a command in progress, did it succeed or fail. Means follow properly if you properly manage your state of your application, then your application will know the answer of all these questions. And why GetX is a good fit for the liquid controller apps, because it have a reactive updates. You clearly separate your UI part and logic part, and simpler GetX injection, and you don't need any kind of boilerplate code like provider. And also it provides the clean architecture for your Flutter application. Due to this, our application will run properly and smoothly. So thank you. And if you have any questions regarding this, you can ask in the community chat. So thank you very much.